Hi everyone and welcome to your daily tarot reading. Now today's cards may not be the most beautiful sight, but there is a certain logic to it because in the sky in the present moment, Mercury is standing in 29 degrees of the sign of Gemini, its ruling sign, but 29 degrees is called an erratic degree, and whenever a planet touches this degree, its symbolism is greatly amplified and its shadow expression is advantaged. So if Mercury is already powerful enough, being in its home sign, its daytime expression of Gemini, well then if 29 degrees the aneretic degree increases in symbolism, that can only mean an intellectual boost, a blessing to our mental spheres, but this is the kind of energy where the word blessing is very questionable because what Mercury in this degree does, it just basically opens up our awareness, it opens up our senses, it opens up our rationality and invites us to look at things in a very, very down to earth way. And if we do that, whatever we are going to be witnessing under the present circumstances can absolutely not be a very pleasant sight. But of course, also over the course of today, Mercury is going to be leaving its home of Gemini and entering the sign of Cancer, where it's going to have a very, very, very prolonged stay, because this is a part of the sky where it's going to go retrograde. And unfortunately, the energies and the feelings of this Mercury retrograde are going to be very similar to that when it was retrograde in Pisces at the beginning of this year. But of course, before it goes retrograde, we still have the positive expression of its energy, which is solidarity, emotional intelligence, a very powerful intuitive sense, good communication with our loved ones, our family, our friends, everyone who we hold dear. And of course, it can also represent emotional security, especially once we rationalize it, especially once it reaches our awareness that we are not alone in our lives, we are not alone in our destinies, there's always someone out there who we can connect with. Now that it also offers a potential solution, a potential soothing of whatever reaches our awareness today. So it's going to be a very, very dual day. And that is exactly why the Death card opens the reading. And this bears more than one symbolism. Well, first of all, it represents that how we are feeling and thinking over the course of today is not permanent, is going to change. It is just a transition. But this transition is absolutely necessary because certain things have to just enter our awareness and we have to take them as it is. So this is the energy of clarity and grounding. But at the same time, the Death card also represents that all of us collectively are going through a massive pivotal point from a karmic perspective, and even this is where the era is shifting, a change of era, a change of paradigms. So basically we cannot even have the expectation to be that calm, to be that grounded, to be very, very stable, regardless of our past, regardless of our history, regardless how much inner work we have done and what we have accomplished internally. This kind of energy, this kind of, pivotal moment has to shake us up, regardless of how powerful, stable, rational, logical we are, or even regardless of how stable our lives are in the present moment. This is where all of us know without a shadow of a doubt that none of this is going to be the same in just a couple of months, in maybe next year. So this is where the past and even the present is just so very ephemeral. It is where it kind of loses all of its importance. This is where even the dramas, even the hardships, even everything that we suffered is no longer relevant. It is no longer that significant because the present moment already represents that we have stepped into the great unknown. We are already 1 foot into our futures, and the uncertainty, the instability, the great divine mystery ultimately is frightening. It is not very easy to process, especially when it takes place so instantly, so quickly. And this is exactly why that Eight of Swords follows the Death card. And yes, it is overthinking. It is some kind of confusion, because this is where we simply cannot know what to expect in the future. We cannot make that much sense of the present because simply we do not possess the information. We do not possess any tools, any means, any coping skills to ensure a stable future for ourselves. And that is exactly why that Ace of Coins is reversed, because today all of us, one way or another, are aware that our material lives, our financial material stability is more of a fantasy than a fact. It doesn't matter what we have in the present moment, because now we know that we can lose anything and everything in a flash of a second, and there is absolutely no guarantee, not legal guarantee, not any kind of social security type of guarantee, not even logical guarantee that we are going to be okay and stable financially in the future. So we are awakened to the fact that regardless of our psychological configuration, regardless of our attitudes, regardless of our perceptions, regardless of our spirituality and faith, we are still in big trouble materially. And no matter what we do, no matter how much we try to calculate, to rationalize, to anticipate, there is absolutely no guarantee that we are going to be stable and okay financially and materially in the future. But of course, for some people, this has a totally different kind of dimension, where they just worried about their income, they're worried about their prosperity, they're worried about their jobs and careers, and however they're going to accomplish their future plans. For other people, this takes on a totally different dimension, where they're actually worried about famine, they're worried about really serious issues, their survivability, their livelihood. This is where, for them, a very big and unsolvable crisis, it's also a possibility, and they're starting to get worried, they're starting to get concerned, because there is no solution, there is no option. That is exactly why that Eight of Swords is on overdrive. You're thinking about every possibility, every option, but everything leads to the same conclusion, that you just don't know. We cannot know in the present moment what even to expect. So what happens when we are in an unsolvable situation? What happens when we mentally face total standstill, total stagnation? Well, the only option is to kind of spiritualize all of this. When our minds do not have any answers for us, then the only thing, the only place we can tap into is our faith, is our subconscious, and in the most positive expression of this, maybe our past experiences, how the past cycles have been playing out. Just that something of this caliber has not been lived in the past, basically. So even the past, just, tapping into our wisdom and observing how the past cycles have been playing out, that's also very limited source of emotional security, if we can call it that way. So our only option right now is to tap into our intuition, to tap into our faith, and just hope that things work out somehow, some way. But of course, the good news is, if we tap into our intuition, but by this I mean only our intuition, by shutting out our thoughts, shutting out our overthinking and our worries, which is not that easy to do, because this is a moment when our worries and our overthinking is 1,000,000% justified. This is actually what we're supposed to be doing. So this is not your usual negative overload of the mind, but this is where we have to do this. We have to confront reality. We have to get a very down to earth, realistic grip on things, even if what we become aware of is very uncomfortable, very unpleasant, even if it's only just bad news. We still need this information to know where we stand from, because even though not in the present moment, not right now, but very soon, maybe for example in the middle of the summer or the beginning of autumn, very important choices, decisions are going to be awaiting all of us, and those decisions are not going to be something we just do freely. It is not just following our passion and stuff like that. Our future stabilities, livelihoods, our relations with centralized power, for example, authorities, the community, is going to depend on our future choices. So this present moment energy of overthinking and just, facing reality, the realism of all of this, this is very, very important, because it's preparing us. It is getting us ready. It is even making us brave by showing us clearly that there is no good or bad choice, there is no wrong or right in the present moment, because all of us are basically in the same boat. So this is where no one actually knows how the future is gonna look like. And if we know something for sure, if we know something for certain, well, that knowledge is not positive. That knowledge has to do with the imminent economic crisis, with the collapse of the economy, so to speak. Like, for example, from an astrological perspective, this is basically like a repeat of 2008, when Jupiter was last in Capricorn. So the economy collapsed back then. Many countries and nations suffered irreversible damages. And why should it be that much different this time? So we know what we know, but this is where the bad news is more realistic than the wishful thinking, and the good news, even if it sources from experts and people who studied economy all their waking lives, even their positivity and optimistic takes on things are no longer sufficient to convince us of absolutely anything. This is where the only thing we know for certain is that hard times are coming, and the only solution that can change all of this is most definitely a miracle, and not anything we can humanly accomplish anytime soon. So that's exactly why very, very many people have to tap into their intuitions. But as I said earlier, you have to tap into your most authentic intuition, where you have to shut down your mind. And if you tap into your intuition, what happens? Well, you see that High Priestess is covered by the Nine of Swords reversed, where the Nine of Swords is a heavy depression. It is losing all hope and melancholy, not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But since it's reversed, you are still stubbornly refusing to fall into depression. You are stubbornly refusing to see the light, not see the light at the end of the tunnel. And this is actually a very positive take. That is a very positive attitude, because you are fighting spiritually, you are fighting psychologically, and that is exactly why your intuition is full of hope. It is full of optimism, and it's definitely not going to steer you wrong. Basically, what your intuition is telling you is that, well, even if the whole world collapses, even if everything starts to implode and there is like no tomorrow, well, for you personally, intuitively, you just know that things are not gonna be like that. You know that something is gonna help you out, something is gonna stabilize you, and it's not just like a saving grace. You know that for you personally, it's not going to be negative whatsoever. In fact, it's going to be rather even more positive than the rest of your life, how your financial and material life played out all throughout your life in the past until this present moment. So you kind of feel and sense that it's going to be different, that for you something positive is starting, And that is exactly why that Nine of Swords is reversed, because your intuition is so strong about this that it just doesn't allow you to fall into depression. You basically, the depression, or the melancholy is definitely there. You can feel the vibes, but no matter what you do, even if you just release all hope and all positivity, you're still not sinking into it. And this is something really, really, really positive, because not only does it reflect that your intuitive sense is not wrong, because if it's this powerful, it just cannot be wrong, but it also reflects just how powerful inner work you have done in the past, where you don't fear it. Yes, you're worried, yes, you're concerned, yes, you're confused, yes, you cannot anticipate how the solution is going to enter your life, or let's not even say about your life, the whole world, the collective. You cannot know it, you cannot anticipate it, you cannot make the scenario in your mind, yet still your senses tell you that it's gonna be okay, at least for you personally. And this communication between different layers of your consciousness is this direct, it is this very powerful, because of your past inner work, because of your past psychological, like, exercises, coping skills, whatever you have done, they have worked, and you're not standing from a place of despair and fear. You're just basically concerned and worried, which is absolutely normal. This is actually what we're supposed to be doing right now. So don't fear depression. Don't fear that very strong melancholy that it's going to drown you and incapacitate you, because it's definitely not going to happen like that. Your intuition, that inner high priestess of yours, basically the non-linear knowledge you possess, it is guaranteeing that for you personally are not going to be doom and gloom, and they're not going to be imploding in your life, especially because you already had so many implosions in the past, when the world was more than okay, when other people were extremely prosperous. So you already done this, not karmically, not humanly, not on any level. You don't need the implosion in your life anymore, because you're over, you've done that. So the only thing that can happen is for life to offer you a totally new opportunity as soon as things start to settle down, in according to my calculations, towards this winter. So if it's a project, if it's something totally new where you go freelance, or if it's a new job offer, a new career offer, a sponsor, or you getting in all the right social connections, well, something is definitely going to happen in your life that's gonna give you your livelihood, your source of income. Well, this may not mean like swimming in prosperity. It definitely means decency. It definitely means a life where you don't have to worry as obsessively as other people will have to about money and income and all of that. This is where you might have some kind of talent, some kind of skill, or some kind of professional history, which you, in the present moment, you might not even dream that that's gonna be the big solution, but it is. You have already done something very significant. It doesn't really matter when, which is going to be opening the gates of your future and your stability for you. That Ace of Coins is 1,000,000% going to be upright for you, in upright position, meaning that you're gonna be more than okay. But how or in which way? Now this is a question, an enigma that no one can actually solve in the present moment. All we can do is stay as hopeful as we can, stay as in tune with reality as we can, and just navigate through this big period of transition and just wait for things to fall into their places. But of course, before that happens, all of us know without a shadow of a doubt that more turmoil, more upheaval is entering the world. So we have to get ready for it. We have to survive it. We have to go through this transition, and then our opportunities and whatever we have to do are definitely going to show up for us. Well, thank you so much for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Take good care of yourselves. Bye for now.